Hi, I'm Kiefer Fuchs, and today I'm going to be talking about the incredible pyramid structures of the Hongshan culture. Now, China has always fascinated me, and specifically the Hongshan culture. China, because it is an extremely ancient and sophisticated civilization, and Hongshan, because it is the oldest and the origin of Chinese civilization. And very few people know about the Chinese pyramids. When we think about pyramids, we think of Egypt, places like that. But China is also home to some of the world's oldest pyramids, and in my opinion, functioning and utilizing the same forbidden technology that the Egyptian pyramids were using, just on a different scale and structure type. So let me first start off by reading to you some of this article. So prior to 1908, this culture was completely unknown, and and for many years after its discovery by a Japanese archaeologist, they were still doubted and questioned by the Chinese people. After a good amount of work and convincing, excavations began in 1935. Due to the scope of the Hongshan and their buildings, excavations are still being done today. These excavations have uncovered an extensive amount of artifact and pottery that appear to give an amazing image of their civilization. Among the excavations was the location of a pyramid. Located on the top of the pyramid were at least 7 tombs, an altar. The altar at the pyramid holds some of the mysterious and unexplained artifacts of the Hongshan excavations. So, having covered that, let me switch back to this article. I'll get back to that. So, this is actually what the pyramid looks like. It's still an incredibly, um, uh, an incredibly impressive structure, especially given 5,000 years ago, and quite a large structure, but it's more reminiscent of the mounds in North America than the pyramids of Egypt, but still interesting. And I've posted on my channel documentaries about the Chinese pyramid. This is one of many, and some of them were built later on, and again, typically made of earth, but still massive structures, and in my opinion, utilizing the same technology that the mounds of North America and technology that the Egyptian pyramids were utilizing, as well as many as other megalithic structures all over the world. So let's read some of this article here real quick. But this one is extremely interesting to me because it's the oldest, and it's the one that kickstarted the rest of the Chinese pyramids. So Chinese archaeologists has discovered a pyramid-shaped building dating back more than 5,000 years ago in the Inner Mongolian Autonomous Region in North China. The pyramid, located on a mountain ridge 1 kilometer more north of Shijiazhi Township on the Ohan Banner County, is a 3-story stone building with a bottom layer being more than 30 meters and 15 meters wide. The pyramid belongs to the Hongshan culture period of 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, an incredibly long time ago, dating back further than the mounds in North America, at least what they claim. 7 tombs and ruins of an altar were found at the top of the pyramid, an interesting location to put this altar and these tombs, similar to the mounds in North America. There's tombs and religious ceremonies going on with these mounds as well. Again, in my opinion, utilizing the same technology. Now, this is a key part of understanding that. At the site of the altar, there are many fragments of broken pottery carved with the Chinese character Mi, which is rice. So, I posted on my channel a lecture and some talks by John Burke. And if you haven't seen that, and even if you have, please go back and watch that. The research that this man did, a credible scientist by mainstream academia standards, and with all the qualifications that somebody needs, He came up with the theory, which was demonstrated with scientific research and studies, that these structures, these mounds, etc., were a piece of forbidden technology that channeled Earth's natural energy. And what he demonstrated that is that you can place seeds on the top of these mounds and gain much larger yields from your crop. So it's literally charging the seeds with energy. And he gets into more detail about it and gets into the ins and outs of what's really going on there. But again, creating a much larger yield. It's incredible. You're literally taking the Earth's energy and charging your seeds up. And again, he demonstrated this. So it is extremely important for a civilization to grow and be sustainable, for them to have large yields and enough food to feed everybody. We take that sort of thing for granted these days because there's food everywhere. But back then, that was extremely crucial. And my analogy for the mounds of North America have always been that of the railroads of our day. Now, it's completely different, but hear me out here. My thought process with it is the railroad structure that we have today was extremely important to creating an interconnected and advancing our civilization to the point that it's at today. So in the future, tens of thousands of years from now, when the wood and the steel rots away, a new civilization is going to come around and discover, because that's how the Earth works. It's been demonstrated on my channel and elsewhere that the Earth goes through these cycles where you have these civilizations that get advanced, and then the Earth tends to wipe them out, and then a new civilization pops up, and then we try to put the pieces together from these past civilizations. So anyway, continuing with what I was saying, when this new civilization pops up, they're going to come across these interconnected mound structures of stone and try to figure out what they were used for. Why did these people build these seemingly useless piles of stone going all over the place, all over the world? Well, little will they know that there was a whole railroad system that went on there that gave us an interconnected society and allowed us to advance and grow. Or a better analogy would be the one that John Burke used, that what are the largest structures that we build today? He gives the example of hydroelectric dams. And why do we do that? Because they're worthwhile, because they give us electricity, and electricity is the lifeblood of our society. It's essential for our society to be sustainable. It's something that we need. So we spend all this time building these massive dams that give us electricity. Again, if a new civilization comes tens of thousands of years in the future, they're going to find these, and if they're going off a completely new set of rules and a new ideal on things, they're going to try to figure out, what was this used for? Why would they build these incredible structures for no reason? Well, they're giving us electricity. They're allowing our society to progress. This is the same thing with these mounds, these pyramid structures, the pyramids in Egypt, and many megaliths all over the world. Not only are they incredible and extremely hard to do, they spent a lot of time on them. Why? Because they allowed their civilization to be sustainable. And what's even more incredible about it is they were channeling the Earth's natural energy that's already there. They knew how to channel that energy to create their civilization. It's absolutely incredible. Could you imagine where we would be at today if we were able to rediscover this technology and what the Earth provides for us? We would get rid of things like genetically modified crops. I think we'd be in a much better position. I think that's how the Earth is intended to be, to harness this natural energy. But anyway, continuing with the pyramids of the Hongshan culture. In one of the tombs, archaeologists found a bone flute and a stone ring, and they unearthed a stone sculpture of a goddess the size of a human body in another tomb. That's also an interesting correlation, that with these pyramid structures, rice and the goddess. Multiple layers of sophistication going on here. Archaeologists were surprised to find a stone-carved linga on the wall of a tomb and a small stone statue of a goddess below the linga in the same tomb. Now, a linga, just a quick side note here, a linga is a symbol of divine generative energy, especially of a phallus or phallic shaped object worshipped. And the example they give here is in Hinduism as portraying Shiva. Well, the Hongshan culture is notorious for their phallic shaped jade carvings. So, again, let me go through some of these here real quick. Fertility is extremely important to these cultures, just part of growing a civilization. They're trying to tell you something here. It's something we find all over the world, the fertility worship and the fertility rites. Archaeologist Guo said that many of the relics were first-time discoveries and that they were of great significance in the studying the burial customs, religious and sacrifice rituals, and the social structure of the Hongshan culture. He pointed out the discovery of the pyramid is also of great significance in exploring the origin of Chinese civilization, and I completely agree. How are all these cultures all over the world honing in on the same forbidden technology, building these structures that today to us seem seemingly useless? How did they all knew something? Because they all came from a prior advanced civilization that lingered around and tried to rebuild itself all over the world. The Hongshan culture belonging to the Neolithic culture. So the Neolithic era is 10,000 to 4,500 BC. So the dates on these are older than the mounds, or the supposed dates of the mounds in North America. It's absolutely incredible. Continuing on here, back to this article. Within the pyramid and other areas, many sculptures were located of various sizes, materials, and figures. The most surprising and abundant of these sculptures are those made of jade. Now, jade is an extremely hard stone to work with, and the sophistication and the beauty of these carvings just makes you believe that they had access to other forbidden technologies where they were able to shape these stones so beautifully in ways that we almost can't recreate today. Most of the figures appear as some humanoid figure. Others have yet to be identified as any creature or items known to have ever existed. This is really interesting. Some of the most combined figures, that of which can best be described as aliens, if you want to use that term. The Aurora Museum describes one of the figures as, quote, a jade artifact of an unknown alien-looking being. They described another artifact in more detail. Quote, the Hongshan jade humanoid figure has more than 6,500 years of history. He is a precious jade carving from the Hongshan period. His face is in the shape of a dragon, while his body is in human form. The four horns and 2 ears on his head resemble the sun's rays, which is why he is also referred to as the sun god. Now, that interesting point right here, the face of a dragon and the body of a human. Again, ancient symbolism we see distributed all over the world. You can take that back biblically or in many other cultures where you have these humanoid serpents or humanoid dragons that came to Earth and or appeared in Earth and brought advanced civilization to mankind. So again, why are we finding this all over the world? And why the symbolism of the serpent or the dragon? Again, you can take it back biblically with the fallen angels. That's one way to look at it, and there's many other ways to look at it. These odd-shaped figurines have never been seen before in any Neolithic culture. Not only are the alien-type figurines only seen in the Hongshan excavations, but they are the only figures made of jade with such perfection that no carving marks have been found. So again, such perfection that no carving marks have been found. How were they doing this? I feel like these are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. I think it's simpler than we think. I think they're harnessing technologies that the Earth is already providing to us. We just need to relearn how to harness these technologies. So moving on to this, I want to show you a little bit of this video. So this is the Hongshan region. This video comes from a channel, Vlad9VT. He's a Russian guy, and he does these great presentations and slideshows on forbidden archaeology and incredible artifacts from all over the world. If you come across it, he's pretty much covered it. So I'll put the link for this video in the description below. But he did a great job of demonstrating some of these artifacts. And again, I just want to go through some of these. Strange alien-looking figurine. Stone ring. Incredible sophistication here. I mean, I spend so much time just looking and wondering, what are they trying to portray here? Because they're certainly trying to portray something incredible. If they spent the time to carve these figurines, which I think they knew would be around for a long time, they're definitely trying to portray something very important to you. Probably about the origins of their civilization, or the origins of civilization, period. So again, these strange people liken them to aliens. What are they trying to portray here? What are these humanoids? And again, just look at the sophistication. Look how perfectly these things are carved. Strange looking face. And then you get into bird symbolism, and there's much more to this video. I just wanted to show you a little bit of that. So again, you can check that out and watch the entire video. It's definitely worth checking out these artifacts. Now, going through these, I can't help but notice the similarities between the Hongshan artifacts and how much Hongshan prized jade. It was an extremely important material to them, similar to Mesoamerica, and I'm sure other people have made this connection as well, but the similarities between their artifacts and the Olmec artifacts, which is an interesting civilization in itself, and how much they prize jade. And again, many of the Olmec figures look Oriental. Incredibly sophisticated jade carvings. So what was the importance of jade to these people? That's a question you need to be asking yourself. And you see all kinds of strange representations here. Almost looks like a dog-headed person. And then you have to highlight how Oriental many of these carvings look like. Okay, so moving on to the goddess temple, which I mentioned earlier, that's in association with the Hongshan pyramid. There was this goddess temple. And when I saw this artifact specifically, I couldn't help but notice the similarities between this artifact and this one from a mound in Ohio. Just incredible similarity here. So utilizing the same technology, similar artifacts, suggesting a globally connected civilization. The Neolithic Hongshan culture has revealed itself to researchers through its long-preserved bounty of jade artifacts, its ceremonial monuments, burial traditions, and its influence in the origins of Chinese civilization. The Hongshan underground goddess temple housed beautiful and mysterious relics of unknown deities and larger-than-life statues. Discovered in 1983, it can be said that no other site typifies and imparts the Hongshan spiritual heritage more than New Heling, featuring an underground goddess temple complex, ancient relics, cairns, mounds, altars, and graves. New Heling is an outstanding example of, quote, holy sacrificial land of the early period of human civilization. Just an incredible pig dragon artifact. The sprawling Nuhulang Neolithic archaeological site, spanning more than 50 square kilometers, 19 square miles, in northeast China, is comprised of multiple locations with monumental structures located in the Manchurian province of Laohulang. The site dates back 5,000 to 5,500 years. The ancient Nuhulang site was reserved for religious purposes, ceremonies, burials, and rituals, as no evidence of dwellings or settlements have been discovered there, which is an interesting point. Reports that the area, it reminds me of the Miamisburg Mound in Ohio. Just a lot of similarities there. UNESCO reports that the area has been separated into several different categories by researchers, including the goddess temple, the platform, the stone mound, the sacrificial altar, the building foundation, and the cellar. Some of those rice pottery. Goddess temple. One or more notable monuments at Nuhulang is the Goddess Temple, so named by archaeologists who discovered a clay female head sculpture with its eyes inlaid with jade. The temple was an underground religious complex made of earth and wood structures and chambers. Now, an interesting point, could be meaningless, but the eyes were inlaid with jade. The old saying is that the eyes are the windows of the soul. I wonder if they didn't do that for a specific reason. Wikipedia notes that the walls were painted in murals, and it housed clay figurines, quote, as large as 3 times the size of real-life humans. It's surmised the huge figures are deities, but they do not match representations found in any other Chinese culture, which is interesting. The larger figurines were made from wood and straw and then covered in clay. Other artifacts unearthed at the temple were sacrificial potteries and animal sculptures such as dragons, pig dragons, and tortoises. Pigs, dragons, and eagles generally featured in the culture's grave goods. Pig bones had been found buried with humans in graves, and the Hongshan artifacts are some of the earliest examples of jade work. Earliest examples and most sophisticated. It's interesting how that works. Fertility was a major theme in their work, with fetus and pregnant women objects featuring repeatedly. The stone temple is deemed one of the earliest sacrificial sites in Northeast Asia. So, 14 stone mounds. So again, similarities, what you find even in North America with these mounds. And then once you understand the technology they're harnessing, you understand why these were constructed, and you start to see correlations between these civilizations. 14 stone mounds dot hilltops at Nuhulang, each containing multiple graves representing a clear hierarchy. UNESCO reports, first, a large grave is located at the center, dominating other graves. The central grave, spaciously constructed, is deeply anchored into its rock foundation. A stone coffin, whose inner wall is neatly constructed, contains a variety of jade articles without other burial objects such as pottery and stone objects. Jade objects were prized. And here's an example of these graves. Again, a lot of similarities with these flat stones that you find in mound sites in North America. Just really interesting, and I'm sure that there's some cover-up going on here. I wonder what the entirety of what they have found here, and I still think that China and through Siberia and that area, Eurasia, holds many secrets to the true history of this world just waiting to be discovered. like you see with the Scythian culture, these incredible mound sites, burials in there. Many of them were looted and destroyed, unfortunately, and they didn't get a chance to be documented, but still, a lot of really interesting history coming out of that part of the world. The second and third level graves had fewer grave goods, but are spacious and as well constructed as the center burials. These large clusters of prehistoric graves demonstrate a clear system of social rankings among people. The central graves of the mounds match the scale and splendor of the later period of the emperor mausoleums. Now, that's what the documentary I posted on my channel, that's definitely worth checking out. Those are extremely interesting. But again, it all starts here. The Nihulang site is sometimes compared to Britain's Stonehenge, as Nihulang may have been used by the Neolithic priestesses to predict the solstices and equinoxes, as well as other astronomical phenomena. Again, something you see with these ancient cultures. They knew the concept of as above, so below. That was extremely important to them, and many of these sites are dedicated to that as well. Standing stones at Nahulang altars form concentric circles with stone piles located at the center, suggesting to experts that complex rituals worshiping heaven and earth may have been performed there. University of Denver professor Robert Stenzel says the precisely aligned structures may have been used to measure, quote, key solar and lunar rise and set points, which would make them usable today for the simple seasonal calendar keeping and the beginning study of eclipse cycles. Again, something you see in North America as well with the mound sites. And also important to harvesting and growing a civilization, knowing the seasons, etc., knowing when to plant, keeping track of that. Research continues on the potential astronomical history of Nihulang. The well-preserved relic and structures of the goddess temple at the Nihulang site at large provide exemplary evidence of a sophisticated prehistoric culture and a view of how they understood and shaped the earth and the sky around them. So that is what I will leave you with today. Make sure you check out those John Burke articles I'll put in the description. Those are extremely important. If you enjoyed this content, please support me. It would help a ton. It helps us grow and allows us to share the true history of this world. The Patreon and the PayPal link are right there on the screen. And they will also be below. If you don't understand the history of the past, the true history of the past, you will not be able to move through this world properly. So this is what I will leave you with today. I hope you all have a good one.